Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NLC. We're getting ready to go into game number 2 between Godsent and Dusty. And to be honest, with both of these teams, it's a pretty important game. They've had pretty rough starts to this tournament, and there's not that many weeks left of the regular season. So for them, it's a matter of really getting this head-to-head going. And keeping in mind, historically, as these teams have already played each other, Godsent won this last time. So Dusty, this is an absolute must-win for them.
It really is, and if Dusty wins this, then they tie the score and they're 1-1 in head-to-head. So at least you secure that tiebreaker, and that's why it's so important.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think Dusty, despite their standings, they've been playing a little better in recency. So there's honestly a decent enough chance that they can actually come into this Godsent match and win. But they have to come out, sort of with an early lead, because one of the things that me and Gorborg spoke about was honestly Godsent, laning was not necessarily always the best. They've cleaned it up here and there, but it's still not really up to scratch. So if Dusty can capitalize on that and they start to pull forward with a lead, Godsent haven't necessarily been the best at coming back.
Well, we're into Pixel Mans, and so far the Rail Pantheon, the Kaiser, and the Seraphine have all been banned away. So Godsent looking for their final ban here. Probably just expecting some kind of power pick. They're actually banning the Olaf. Normally we see that on the red side. So kind of showing the indecision, not really wanting to play that.
Yeah, often an indication of, what you exactly just said, or that you have another priority pick in mind that you value more. What that pick is, I'm not certain yet, but we have seen indecision of the likes and Graves in Italy, so that's why I'm like this. It's not the highest priority.
Yeah.
Oh, Udyr.
Yeah, so I mean, after last, Udyr's kind of risen to that S tier standing, I think, amongst a lot of teams. So I'm not too surprised to actually see it be locked in first pick, though obviously Indecision has primarily been on that Graves. I like the Aphelios and Thresh response pick, though, just because, the Thresh provides a lot of safety into the Udyr in particular. Whilst he's very quick, Thresh typically can dissuade him from diving forward onto that Aphelios.
And it's also just the nature of the two champions. Udyr, you want to run forward. Aphelios, you want to kite back. So with the box, with the lantern in mind, it's just a great response into it. So that's why I also like the counter response if you opt in to go with the Jhin, because then you are playing around the long range. You're playing around with facilitation, picks, slows, something where you can get the job done from a long range. So you're not necessarily opting into what Dusty won. And I think that's a good adaptation from Godsent. Also, Emtas, we know he likes this Jhin.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind just seeing Norlish just for the point-and-click CC, not necessarily diving forward, but also being able to dissuade people from picking up the Lantern, because you can drag that ultimate through with them. But we are just going to see Lucian locked in here in tandem with the Udyr, which I don't think I've seen commonly. But okay, Dusty, immediate Yone response. I feel like Dusty might be looking to go a little bit ham in this game with that one.
That is a hype pick. That is a really, really hype pick. There's a lot of AD on Godsent at the moment, though.
I think both sides.
Yeah, to be fair. I mean, Udyr with the Phoenix stance obviously has a bit of magic damage, but you don't really build magic damage on Udyr. Like, the best you see from an Udyr at the moment is a Lich Bane.
Second auto attack on Yone is magic damage as well. So, you do have some magic damage in the
technically
kit.
True, but I don't think you're going to need to heavily itemize magic resist to deal with Yone.
Okay, so realistically speaking, moving on into the draft, you don't necessarily have to worry about it. There's 2 AD carries, so even if they opt into that magic resist or AD, whatever you do, it's not necessarily in that build pattern outside of plated steel caps. And from the side of Dusty, it seems like they're trying to go against the top laners here, which is interesting because realistically speaking, you are going to have that counter pick. The jungler is Udyr, so you're going to be 4th picking your own jungler, and that's why Godsent are banning the junglers right now.
Yeah, I don't think Dusty necessarily mind, though, because these 2 picks are picks that Zombie has traditionally actually led on.
That's true.
As a player, so just removing comfort, I think, is sort of what they're looking for. They don't really care about the meta picks, regardless of whether or not they're going to have R5 counter pick for Flaxius. So, like you say, I think they are just going to pick up Kelm's jungle pick here, and oh wow, it's gonna be.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about all AD now. I think that's been undone a little bit.
That's been undone. Karthus it's not a champion we see a lot. Gorborg, you want to talk about the Karthus pick? I'll let you snap it up. Go on.
To me, it's so traditionally Chelm as well. We saw him play that a lot last split. He was like, I play Graves, I play Nidda, and I play Karthus, all right? So we're back to the roots here for Chelm, and if you got priority lanes to work around with, it's really easy to play Karthus, but obviously there's a lot of CC to work with in the Udyr, in the long range snare from Jhin, so it wouldn't surprise me if we try to go for some early shenanigans around this Karthus to kind of try and force him back, because he is very low mobility in a meta where there's so many mobility champions.
And I'm kind of curious as to how Dusty want to round out their comp. Whilst yes, it is still Godsent's final pick here, which for support, I would still like to see some... I was going to say something hook-based, i.e. Nautilus, but they're going to go for the Blitzcrank, which obviously has for a while been a counter into Thresh. But honestly, Quick Timer pulling out the special here. I want to know whether Flaxus is going to go down the route of like a true split pusher here and just kind of have the Aphelios and the Thresh sit in the mid lane. And okay, Flaxus.
No,
it's not happening. It's definitely not happening.
You never know. Look, you never know with a guy like Flaxus, but GP kind of fits that profile a little bit when you're talking about into Ornn, because he can definitely, play down that side lane. You don't have the old death stance anymore for all of that sustain to sort of like man up to the damage that Ornn can put out. But honestly, Dusty come out with a pretty interesting draft. I'm really curious to see how they're going to play around this Blitzcrank pick though, because Blitzcrank very much hit or miss. Effectiveness is pretty much based around that hook. So honestly, Godsent, I think, have given themselves a bit of an execution flaw to meet, whereas Dusty, in the same sense, whilst it is there, I don't think it's as hard for them to meet those requirements.
Yeah, so for Dusty, to me, I actually like the way it's slow. It's based around slow. So you have champions that wants to kite back. You got Lantern to alleviate some of the pressure, and then you have the Wall of Pain. You have the Cannon Barrage. So with a champion like Udyr, with Blitzcrank, who also wants to walk up to try and get this hook, you are actually able to play around some of these tools that will make it easier for a champion like Aphelios to kind of flourish in a composition like this.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comps. I mean, the Blitzcrank, man. Like, I can't not be excited by a Blitzcrank, right? I have to see how it goes down, because Blitzcrank's one of those champions where it's like you get excited about it and then they miss all their hooks and it's like, well, that champion does nothing. But also, one of the nice things about the Blitzcrank is, as you do move later into the game, a hook could be game changing. It could just, if you find that crucial member with a hook, all that kind of kiting back you're talking about from the Cannon Barrage, the Wall of Pain, can just be somewhat alleviated if you just blow up the AD carry like that. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I think it's time we let our two favorite ramblers ramble a little bit more. We're going to pass it over to Excoundrel Nox.
Always nice to hear Jake's high tier analysis just at the end of the analyst segment there.
Round it out on a high.
Exactly, riding it out on a high. Blitzcrank cooking equal good. Anyway, this is obviously an important game, and my dogs are apparently agreeing with me as they have, as we are signaling the start of the game. They started yapping away. Now, let's talk a little bit about the implications of this match. Then, Godsent versus Dusty. Obviously, lower end of the table right now. Dusty in desperate need of a win. Is this like a do or die game for Dusty? Is this something that you really feel that they need to win to keep their chances alive?
It makes it especially difficult if they lose this one, because the big thing is the head-to-head against Godsent. If Godsent win this, it puts them 2 points ahead. It puts them 2 on the head-to-head. Dusty it'll be almost impossible for them to sort of catch up over them. There's still hope for them to avoid relegations. There's still hope for them to even make it into playoffs. But it's really rough, especially when you look at Dusty's next 3 matches and the last 3. It's Granite, which is definitely a beatable side, and then it's XL, and then it's Nordavind. I think the last 2, based on their form, is a hard sell. So if you don't win this one, and they don't win their game tomorrow against Granite, I think Dusty are really up a hill without any sort of way of getting down.
Down a creek without a paddle is the general phrase.
Trying to avoid it. I was like, I'll try and make something new, and you know what? I regret it. I don't know where I was going with that. I ended up somewhere.
You predicted Dusty, right? So you actually predicted Dusty in this matchup. I think you and Goldberg were the 2 to actually go for Dusty over Godsent here. I want to know why.
We're on the creek too.
Yeah, you're down the creek too, but you might have a paddle. Like, why is it that you've gone for Dusty? Like, what is it that you think that is working for them that actually can give them this edge versus Godsent?
I don't think it's working for them yet, but I think there is potential. I think we've seen Hoys and Legions and Chilm work really well together. I think Pedersen has had some great moments in the Nordic Championship. And I really feel like this team shouldn't be where they are. I feel like they have the talent on the roster. It's about the meshing. It's about the coordination. I think they're a team who just need to kind of work together on the basics. And it's similar to Nordavind. Seeing them beat XL was obviously massive, but it's kind of like they had the players, they had the caliber. It just felt like they hadn't sort of worked out how to play the game together. And Dusty if they aren't working it out this week, it's kind of over for them. And I have hope that they'll be able to, especially since, again, a lot of this roster have played together before, and the expectation is they should be in sync. But I think just with the meta shifting, they kind of struggle to get up to speed. So, you know, I'm hoping. Goldbug's also a hoper, but realistically, it is an uphill battle.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the phrase that you just mentioned just there, like they need to get it together. I feel like I was saying that in week 2 about Dusty. Realistically, given their initial foray into NLC was not particularly strong in that first week. However, as you said, it's not down and out for them. If they win this game, there is still chances to avoid relegation. There are still long shots to even make it to the playoff scenarios. So Dusty still need to fight for every single game that they get. Now, we are just obviously, as you may be able to see, in a little bit of a pause right now. We are just waiting for one of the players to be able to get back into game and hopefully get ready to go ASAP. But let's talk a little bit about the drafts now. Obviously, you heard the analysts break down the majority of those drafts. Dusty running with the Gangplank, the Karthus, Legions on the Yone in the mid, and then we have the Aphelios Thresh bot lane. What is it that this comp is aiming to do? Like, what are their win conditions for Dusty?
So I think for Dusty, it's kind of navigating the early game, and then they actually scale really well. Flaxish and Legions both on good side laners, and you have the Karthus who can sort of extenuate that. And just when it comes to a team fight, they have so much damage. Honestly, it's really difficult if you don't deal with one of those carries to kind of survive. And when you compare that to Godsent have 2 carries, you know, and you're looking at 4 on the side of Dusty, and a lot of them make the life of those Godsent carries difficult. In the likes of, if you step too close to Aphelios, he can just shred you. If Yone gets on top of you, he'll just burst you. Flaxish can throw down the Gangplank ult and cause issues, especially for Jhin if he's trying to use his curtain call. And then you have Karthus to follow that up. So for me, it's very much an anti-carry comp, and it'll deliver well on that when it comes to team fights. The problem is getting there. I'm looking at a Lucian mid who's going to have priority. I'm looking at an Udyr who thrives of having that priority, and that's where I'm concerned. So if Godsent come out strong, they should be able to take this game. But if there are mistakes, if there are issues, if Dusty can hold out, there's definitely an opportunity for them to come back in the later stages.
Yeah, even to me, it looks like Godsent are like on a timer. Like you're going into a Gangplank, Karthus, a Yone, and Aphelios. It feels like a bit of a timer. It looks like we have unpaused. So I'm going to tentatively hope that we are into game here between Godsent and Dusty. But obviously, the other side of that draft is the Godsent draft. You talked a little bit about that prio from the Lucian in the mid lane. What else is this comp designed to do? Is it designed to kind of make like snowball the early game and run away with it, and then just hope that, again, a little bit like the way that XL played, you utilize that gold advantage to really just take hold of the game?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially that's the way you want to do it. You should have pressure definitely in that mid lane, and having Jhin and Blitzcrank, if you can find advantages there, you can really run away with the matchup bot lane. You want to find those leads early, and when it comes to late stages, you have ample opportunities to find picks back to back. You got Udyr who can run people down. You got the Engage from the Ornn. You have the Blitzcrank obviously can set up plays. If Godsent hit their stride in the early game, they should just be setting the pace, and it should just be vision control for them, and then pick after pick after pick. And it's like pick into Dragon, pick into Herald, pick into Baron, etc., and just continue that momentum, and really just all gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes. Let's see if it works out for Godsent. They have had some issues closing things before. They have had some issues in the mid game before. So let's hope their car doesn't have a lack of wheels, because they're going to need the wheels to essentially get hold of this game.
It's never a line you want to hear from your Uber driver, but in a League of Legends game, it can work.
All right, so pretty casual start here. Flax is just keeping an eye on where the Udyr is starting, and he'll have an idea about the blue buff start. I wonder if we see Udyr go aggressive into the Karthus jungle, maybe looking to go for that red buff. It is warded right now for Godsent, so he could make a move onto that topside jungle.
Yeah, absolutely could. And I think you could have a decent idea of how you can avoid. I mean, you'd have to have the information of where that ward is, but there's very often this defensive ward around the little sort of crossroads near the Raptors. So you could very easily go around that, but seems like maybe for now. Oh, good hook comes in.
Yeah, good hook onto Pedersen. Not really a huge amount of kill pressure follow-up, but Pedersen taken very low at level 1 here. You hate to think if that was level 2 and the snare came through from N-Test, we may have been looking at first blood in a 2v2 scenario.
But it's always a good omen. I always look at a Blitzcrank and I'm like, your first attack of the game often sets the pace for it. In quick time, he's feeling confident. And if you find another one, it very much could just mean the Thresh going down. And that's one of the vulnerabilities, especially if you're trying to apply pressure as Thresh. If you throw your Death Sentence out, you're locked in place, and it allows for an easy rocket grab to come through. And we're talking a bit about jungles before. Looks like Chilm will go uncontested just through the first clear. Indecision just going to go through his bot side camps. But Scuttle Crab spawning is where we could see something happen, because bot lane is very easily a free pickup for Godsent. But I could actually see Indecision heading towards the top side Scuttle, because you have priority mid. I actually think you could just deny that from the Karthus and then rotate bot to secure it. But you have to get going now, because Chilm's already walking over.
And Chilm already level 4 as well. He just power farmed his way through that jungle. And this is a good start if you're the Karthus in this scenario. Like, you're super happy to be A, close to level 5 already, B, unthreatened by Udyr in the early game. And this is probably the ideal start for the Dusty jungler.
Yeah, absolutely is. And the fact he gets the Scuttle, he trades those, gets a full clear. He's very happy with that. Udyr really not done anything other than match, which in the early game, maybe we could have seen a bit more from Indecision come out. Maybe there's an argument you would have started on the same side as the Karthus, so that you would have been able to match him, and when it comes to that Scuttle, you would have been fighting him over it and obviously hopefully pushing him away. But it has meant that because he didn't request a leash from his bot lane, that M-Test and QuickTime are having pretty good time so far.
Yeah, obviously QuickTime looking to throw those hooks out wherever he can, but relatively low action thus far. Flaxis has got a pretty strong matchup into Zombie here. You can see Zombie struggling a little bit versus the top lane pressure coming out from Flaxis right now. And that's one of the things that I think I'm really looking towards Dusty as one of the major sources of carry potential. Flaxis has looked a little flat sometimes, and he's someone that some question marks have been raised over in terms of his performance on the Dusty roster. This is a matchup that you really want him to shine in. You know that he's got a pretty free lane into the Ornn, especially, you know, if Udyr is not going to be on that side of the map. So you kind of want Flaxis to kind of scale up and have a relatively good performance in this game.
Yeah, and I think Flaxis is someone who, when he's playing well, he can absolutely decimate games. We've had games from him last split when he's on the Vladimir and he does so much work. But he also can flop. There's also moments where he oversteps, he's too aggressive, picks the wrong time. And this is actually a matchup where if you do that, it can backfire. Because if you fall behind as the gangplank into the Ornn just becomes too tanky for you really to do anything to. And as we're talking about, you don't really have that sort of early death dance pickup to give you sustain. And it kind of just feels like Flaxis will struggle if he makes a mistake. But as long as he plays the lane correctly, he should be finding an advantage. He should be pulling ahead and farm. And as you said, scaling well into the later stages.
Of course, Dusty, if they put one foot wrong, this is a game that could seal their fate in the NLC, as we said before. Like, as Dan correctly mentioned, you did kind of say that there is a chance, but they have a very, very tough set of opponents to find that chance versus. Now, the Dragon has been started here as well. I don't expect a contest from Dusty. I mean, I don't think they're going to care too much about early Dragons, right?
No, I mean, they don't have the priority. First Dragon isn't something you want to sort of lose your momentum for or lose your life for. You just let it go, and Indecision on the Udyr will pick that one up. I think the big thing for Dusty is whether it's this game or whether it's the game tomorrow, you need a win this week. Otherwise, you just make things almost impossible. And ideally, you get that win now because it just alleviates some of the pressure tomorrow. Because I think going into that game and being like, if we lose this, we are really doomed, is never going to set yourself up for success. So hopefully find the momentum here. They are a little bit down in gold overall, but it's just CS advantages mid and AD carry. It's not too much of an issue. And the fact is,
carry on. Yeah.
The fact is, just the fact that nothing's really happened so far is a good omen for Dusty. If you can keep it going like this, you can be perfectly happy.
You actually read my mind, Dan. That's legitimately what I was about to say. I was about to say that actually...
How in sync.
Exactly. I was about to say that Dusty will be happy that 7 minutes into the game, no one's died, and they're not that far behind in gold. Especially with a comp like this. And even so much so that we are seeing an invade now coming out from Chelm onto the blue side jungle of Udyr. Indecision just comes in to help clear the wave. I think probably to allow Silk to back here without having to worry too much about shoving the lane.
Yeah, definitely a low mana from Silk, so wants to go with that reset. And Legions, you know, that early pressure was definitely a thing from Silk, finding that easy priority. But when Legions hits level 6, there is a bit of threat. You know, he can E in, he can apply the pressure, go for heavy trade, jump back. He's relatively safe from ganks as a result. and also has that ult to look for a kill if there is a window that comes alive. So that early pressure from having a Lucian mid kind of hasn't amounted to too much to Godsent. And considering they picked the Udyr, they prioritized this heavily, they banned the Olaf, and they went for the Udyr first pick. Not too much has come from it. You're down in farm, and the early game has been pretty slow.
However, I don't want to be too harsh. We're only 7 minutes into the game, nearly 8, and obviously
Sweeping statements. The game is over for Godsent at this point.
It's over, completely over. Zombie's going to walk straight into Flaxius here. Has to be a little careful. Zombie taken low, forced to flash. There comes the ultimate out of Chelm, and the Q from Flaxius will pick up the kill, easy as you like, and that is a good start for our top laner from Dusty.
Yeah, I mean, a great play, and Flaxius is often someone who looks for those windows to find the aggression. And this is the value of that Karthus. When you have strong solo laners who want to look for duels, like the Yone, like the Gangplank in this matchup, you can set them up with that ultimate. Just get some low enough so Flaxius, with the grasp and the parlay, can finish him off.
It's looking good for Dusty in this game so far. Up in kills, and then Legion's now going to be the target. Well, beautiful. Nice pull back, though, stunned by the bear stance, and Silk will pick up the kill. Quick timer, beautiful hook from him to pick off Yone.
Yeah, actually, really well played there by Indecision specifically, because Legions would have gotten out with his ultimate, but it was actually body blocked by Indecision. And the thing is, you will go to max range, or you will go just behind the furthest person you hit. So you see the play comes out here, and Legions, it looks like he's going to get away with an ult here, but because it's blocked by Indecision, he actually doesn't get over the wall, has to flash, and then the hook brings him straight back in. So Indecision and Quick Timer both playing that one excellently to get the kill.
And that is the power of the Udyr, as Hitbreak correctly mentioned. Just, you know, a single pull can be pretty relevant when it comes to taking these neutral objectives, and that's what we just saw there. It's allowed a very easy secure of the Rift, which I think has just been immediately dropped top to secure the top lane turret to going down. Silk will manage to dodge out of all of the aggression in the mid lane, and that first turret of the game will go Godsent's way. So finally, off the back of a single Blitzcrank pull, you're getting a little bit of acceleration coming out from Godsent this game. We'll even get the second charge out of Shelly too, which is nice. And this is what Godsent want. This is the start that they would have wanted around 10 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of just Dusty misallocating resources, and this is kind of where the problem is. You saw them bring a bunch of members mid to look for a kill on Lucian, but realistically, it's so hard to find that play onto Lucian, who had his flash, has the dash available. So you commit all these members and you get essentially nothing. Whereas Godsent, they get a bunch of plates top, sets them up for the Herald, which they're already taking, and it just delivers so much more. And now finding themselves at almost a 2,000 gold lead. And this is kind of Dusty's issues rearing their heads. In the individual plays, they're strong, but it's the setup, it's the decision making that often ends up pulling them down.
MTS is now rotated to the mid lane as well. I guess with the next Drake spawning in a little over 10 seconds, they're just sort of collecting their group. He's looking for a hook. Quick Timer looking for one.
Not quite.
Won't find it though. Not yet anyway. Do I say that? In goes the bear stance, the flash, slap through. And then, the pull. He thread that like a needle. But Chelm won't go down. Instead, it will be Quick Timer that pays the price. Beautiful pull by Pedersen as well. Flax's ultimate paying dividends in that fight. I feel this Jhin ultimate is merely token, as he will not be able to find any kills off the back of it. And whilst that looked like a great setup for Godsent, Dusty were able to respond nicely.
Yeah, I mean, you'd need wanted skills to be able to get that kill at the end, but ultimately Godsent, they find the hook, but they're just a bit over aggressive, and you can see Quick Timer's thought process is save the hook for as long as possible, get the rocket grab when Chelm sort of moved side to side and dodged as he can, but the problem is you're taking damage. There's other threats other than Chelm, and we'll get a chance to see that again. So they walk up and they're going aggressive and they're buying so much time, but this entire as this is going on, Hoyes is just constantly hitting Quick Timer, and then Pedersen goes in with a big engage, Cannon Barrage comes in, Hoyes is still free hitting, and it's like, this is the problem, is that you're committing onto a Karthus, and realistically, if you kill Karthus, he's still going to do damage. So I think Godsent just really overcommittal with that play, and it's almost like we're seeing a big separation between these two teams, in the sense that Godsent are playing the map really well, but when it comes to these fights, it's sometimes just a little bit questionable, a little bit messy. And Dusty coming out ahead in that one, and able to secure a dragon, which is big, because Since he adds 5 minutes onto that soul timer.
And that's not what you want versus the team that scales the way that Dusty scales too. Like it's a really hard scaling team with the picks they've got. The pull goes wide. I mean, Pedersen just kind of sat there and died. I feel like Indecision picked up the bear slap and he just wanted to avoid the hook. So
yeah, he was going for the hex flash there, but got CC'd. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, a little bit. Legions went a little bit too aggressive there. He's going to be trying to chase him down under turret. Wonder if the turret dive will come through. It will not. Godsent don't want to overcommit here. Flaxius is in the top lane, split pushing. A little pickup for Godsent. They are still just ever so slightly in the lead, but nothing major.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one because there's big numbers coming out from Godsent on the bot side river, but you know there was no dragon necessarily to pick up. But they managed to find a window. Pedersen just caught on his own, goes for the hex flash to try and get away, but can't do it. But not too much will come after that. Legion's a little bit with the ultimate, but in fairness, I mean, Udyr is so fast, especially as he had the ghost down, makes it very difficult to land those skill shots.
M-Test still sticking in the mid lane here. Just trying to find any kind of avenue onto this mid lane tier 1. Of course, the second Rift Herald as well, Orcs, will be an important contest that might allow them to break open that mid lane tier 1. Has that already gone down, actually? Am I blind? It hasn't already gone down.
No, mid lane tier 1. Still going.
No,
Still
no, I mean the Rift Herald. I didn't miss anyone taking it. I felt like it's probably too early for it to go down, the second one.
I'm blanking completely.
Yeah, I'm pretty completely too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been taken right. It's still yet to spawn,
no,
as far as I'm aware.
I don't know why I'm blanking. I know this stuff. It's you get put on the spot and everything just goes out your mind.
No, it's okay, don't worry. The icon saved us. It's
after 14 minutes.
Soon.
It can't come before 40 minutes because you can't get plates. I don't know why I'm whatever. Long day, you know, long day.
Yeah, long day. Second game into the day. It's
it's snowing outside. It dampens the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you on a spiritual level there, Orcs. But it is going to be a setup here that you can see they are clearly spending a lot of time pressuring and creating some priority around this Rift Herald. That's going to be a point of contention for Godsent. Does look like we've seen Dusty open up into a 1-3-1 style comp here. You see Legions constantly looking to split on the bot side of the map, and you can see Flax just doing the same on the top. I wonder whether Dusty contests this Rift Herald. This might be something that they look to do.
Definitely can. It's risky though. Control in the area is completely in favor of Godsent right now, and if someone face checks into a rocket grab, you're essentially just losing that member off the bat. So we'll see if Dusty want to offer it. I actually feel like a mid lane push in response would probably be the better route, and Pedersen's got to be careful here.
Yeah, teleport coming through from the Ornhorn ready to go. There's an immediate kill onto Pedersen. Ornhorn, nice bash across the team, but unfortunately no one can follow up on it. Here comes the Karthus ultimate. They're going to get the knock up onto the Ornn. No one dropping as of yet as the culling comes through. Flaxius forced the flash. Look at the low HP bars on Godsent. Indecision gives up his life. Sub 20% for the entire Godsent roster, and Dusty trade 1-for-1 and should be able to secure the Rift Herald.
It's just so much AoE damage coming out from Dusty and Godsent. They find that one pick, they find that kill, but they don't really have anything to offer after that. So they get Pedersen, they catch him out, they're using the curtain call, but they are chunked out by the combination of Poise's ultimate and the cannon barrage. And now Dusty are feeling, you know, we're full HP. Yes, we lost our support, but who really cares? We still have all this damage. And the barrel chain here just absolutely solidifies the win here for Dusty. Just so much work. And at that point, it's just 3 Herald pickup. Dusty playing that one really well.
And this is exactly where Dusty want their composition to be right now, even at 16 minutes into the game, given the scaling that they have. I mean, is the window closing? Oh, I spoke too soon. Quick Time is getting pulled in here, immediately goes down to Chelm, and suddenly it's a 4 versus 5. Pedersen forced to flash away once more. Zombie diving in. Not sure you want to be there, buddy. Neither do you, Indecision. M-Test and Silk immediately zoned out by this man on the Karthus, and Legion's hungry for more as well. Dusty are just in control of this game. I mean, Godsent looked lost.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like Godsent had the right decision making in the early game, but they just aren't winning the fights. Dusty have 4 carries who are just firing on all cylinders. And for Godsent, it's like Silk and M-Test just can't do anything. They haven't died yet, but they just can't find their way into this fight. They're just too short range, too many threats. And you can see Hoy's walking up here, just forces M-Test to run away. Silk trying to do what he can, but again, he gets rid. He has to back away. The barrel comes in and just forces him off. And I just feel like Dusty's composition just isn't allowing Godsent to find any ground. Yes, they got the scaling, but Dusty's are coming online now. They don't need their scaling.
Oh, the thing that I'm kind of feeling is that as a Udyr, it feels nigh on impossible, especially without Flash, to actually do anything relevant in these team fights. Like, you've got the box, you've got the Karthus wall, you've got the Gangplank ultimate. For someone that purely relies on just running fast, there are lots of things to stop you running fast on the side of Dusty. And Indecision just literally feels like cannon fodder, excuse the pun, because I know that Gangplank's on that side, but he literally feels like cannon fodder in these team fights. I can't recall him doing anything useful in one of these kind of larger skirmishes.
I think if you have backup, it's fine. You know, him and Zombie have a lot of CC, but the problem is you don't have backup. Your AD carriers just can't get close. They can't get in on the fight without getting barrel chained or hit by a lay waste from the Karthus. So, I mean, Udyr isn't ever going to be soloing backlines unless he's really fed. But in this situation, he's just not really able to do much of anything. There's just not enough damage coming out from him. And something I really don't agree with is his Sunfire pickup. I feel like the Chem Tank being cheaper and offering that better movement speed is much more optimal, especially... Oh.
It's going to be Gangplank ultimate.
Big root.
The root is there. Then again, Lander hook onto Indecision, who runs through the box. Finally a kill picked up, but honestly, the rest of his team is already bloody dead. Nothing he can do. Dusty are going to run it down mid.
Yeah, I mean, they find Hoy stepping up a little bit too far there, gets caught out by the root, but ultimately just doesn't matter at all because the damage coming back in return and the fact that even if you kill Hoy's, there's still this Gangplank, there's still this Karthus, and honestly, Flaxis has had an absolutely stellar game. His barrels have been so on point in these fights. I just feel like Godsent really struggling.
We kind of talked about it earlier as well, Orcs. We kind of said Flaxis has had some subpar performances sometimes. I think that he, you know, I always cast my mind back to that game where he had the counter pick into the Nada Jace and he just didn't. That's about the best way to describe that matchup. He just didn't. This is finally a time where we're seeing Flaxis feel comfortable playing a pick that obviously has a large impact in these teamfight scenarios, and he looks much better on it. Chelm is having a good game on the Karthus as well. This is a really strong topside performance from Dusty overall.
Absolutely. I mean, they're just making it impossible for Godsent. They're just making it, doing so much damage, so much zone control, constantly there when a fight kicks off. Really well played for them. And again, this is a completely necessary win for Dusty. Taking this win puts a lot less pressure on them and makes their goal of making it out of relegation realistic, possible, and achievable. If they beat Godsent here, they are tying them. And then they have a game against Granite tomorrow, and they have a decent chance if they play like this to take that one, and that could actually push them out of that relegation spot. And that's the big thing. And I kind of want
to hark back. Exactly, getting out there. Oh, wait a second, I spoke too soon. Here comes the English. Beautiful knock-up this time. This might be the fight that they're looking for, but I just feel it might be too little too late. They get the first kill onto Pedersen in the meantime, but Dusty's still hunting for blood here as the exhaust comes through. They will back off, though. It has been a good kite back here from Godsent, who's the ultimate. Comes through from Legions. Legions is there looking for it. That's a nice pick up from the Aphelios, and immediately the root comes down onto Legions. It's a bit back and forth right now. Dusty's still doing a huge amount of damage to those HP bars, so despite the kill advantage for Godsent, it does feel like Dusty is still incredibly healthy.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty doing absolutely fine here. Losing Pedersen, obviously a good advantage for Godsent to pick that one up, but it really isn't too much of an issue. If they lose the Gangplank with the Karthus, that's where things are problematic, because they have those shutdowns. But you can see the setup here. It's a great engage. It's like as good as you're going to get. But still, M-Test and Silk, they can use their long-range abilities, but the Cannon Barrage, the threat of the barrels just means they're instantly running away after that. There's no way they can easily continue the fight. And even when they start firing these ultimates in, they're like, okay, let's go again, let's set up. Legions put some damage in, and Hoy's, this ultimate just instantly makes Godsent regret their decision, makes them back away.
Dusty still look strong, though. A 3,000 gold lead almost built up for them in this game. There's another Drake spawning, and believe it or not, it is Dusty that the ones that are now threatening third dragon in the game. You know, against a composition that was supposed to come online a little bit earlier, Dusty are the team that will be soon threatening Soul. Now, Godsent clearly wants to contest this. They know that they need to. They're going to put their tanks at the front as the hook comes through straight onto Zombie, who's forced to flash out, and immediately Quick Timer backed off as well. Legions goes back through to his Spirit and immediately engaged comes through. Nice play coming out from Pedersen. Here comes the Ornhorn as Legions is knocked up. Still incredibly close between our two teams as the ultimate comes through from Karthus. Won't pick off anybody, but again, the HP bar is just too low from Godsent to be able to contest.
Don't need to find the kills. It just needs to be enough to force them away from Dragon. Actually, it's actually going to find... I actually think maybe he'll take that 2v1. He's so strong right now, but won't overcommit, won't go greedy, plays respectful, and the Dragon is picked up by Dusty. Gonna replay that one, and, you know, the ideal thing for Godsent here is the tanks on the front line. So they're the ones soaking all these damage, and Dusty actually don't find too much momentum here. Legion's missing the ult off to the side, and Hoy's playing tensively. He doesn't want to step up too far and overcommit. But the thing is, this cannon barrage comes down, and then the ult from the Karthus, and it just means that the fight's instantly over. Like, it feels like the skirmishing that happens at the start is like poke to get them low enough so that Flaxis and Chilm can just KO them. And it's just delivering so well. Godsent need a health advantage to even stand a chance against Dusty, just because the Karthus ult is a looming threat.
And it's only going to get more and more powerful as this game progresses too. And as you said, like, I think once you eliminate Silk and M-Test, who obviously are relatively low HP carries, once they're out of the picture, there isn't really much damage left. There isn't really much way to pressure Godsent in these fights, and that's a problem. I think, you know, if again, Gangplank Ultimate, a single Requiem coming out from the Karthus, that is enough to force M-Test and Silk out of the fight. And if they're out of the fight, Godsent are out of the fight. Godsent are basically out of the game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, literally how it is. And they are looking for a pick here.
Trying to go onto
Legions might be out.
Legions. Yeah, I think he's out. I think he's out.
You know what might have made the difference there? Oh, I've seen it all in.
Chemtank, are you saying Chemtank? Silk is taking very low. There's the ultimate coming up from GP. He is absolutely critical
Watch the
HP right now. Oh my goodness. Is it coming?
1, and it's off cooldown. There we go.
And there we go. Requiem. Silk will find his dream, and he'll be back in the base.
And with that, they'll just go straight onto the Baron. Why not? They have so much DPS for this. They do it so quickly, and Godsent gonna try and contest.
Just trying to use the curtain call to ward Dusty away. It works. It does the job. Dusty are tempted away from that Baron. Even in a 4v5 scenario, M-Test just buys them enough time to push them away from that Baron.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty don't need to flip this one. No reason to. Your 3 dragons to 1. Your composition scales incredibly well. No reason to take a risk like that, especially in such an instrumental game. Dusty happy to just back away, reset, and get back on the map. And with Dragon in 2 minutes 20, I think you're in prime position to be picking that one up.
So I never, you know, I'm a big fan of trying to find avenues for teams to find the win here. But with Godsent, is there an avenue? Or is it just too little too late for them? Did they squander their...
It's got to be picks. You need to find someone who's isolated and you need to kill them quickly. It needs to be a rocket grab from Quick Timer. Poise needs to be walking in the wrong place at the wrong time. You just need to blow them up. Then you can start to find some momentum. But even then, it's not easy, because killing Hoyes doesn't mean you win a team fight, because Legion's Chilm and Flaxis are still putting out tons of damage. And the problem is, Zombie is just a CC bot at this point. And Indecision is like a worse CC bot at this point. And again, I just don't think the Sunfire hit for the Udyr has that much value. You're not going to be in melee range with Dusty long enough to really get the actual value from the item. Get into range, obviously the bigger thing with that chem tank, but regardless, item builds, whatever, it's coming down to the fact that Silk and M-Test just aren't able to really get in range of anyone. You need picks, you need rocket grabs, you need good setup and objectives, and that's something that we are seeing Godsent look towards now. They're trying to get in on the Dragon early, they're trying to clear out the vision, but Dusty just don't care. They're happy to lean towards this Baron because it's up and available right now, and the Dragon's not up for another minute.
And even if they lose this Dragon, they still know that that's an extra 15 minutes worth of game time before Soul is even threatened by Godsent. And by that point, you're so far into the late game that your picks are just undeniably better than Godsent's in terms of just pure late game potential.
Absolutely. I mean, Godsent are just really in a rough spot, and they are looking for those picks now.
Oh, the flash. Oh, no! But they absolutely sacrificed Chelm with the flash coming out. Pedersen on the back line now. That is Legion's trying to do the damage. A zombie is forced out of the fight. Great ult from Flaxish to buy some time here, but everybody's still alive on Godsent for the time being. Pedersen looks for the hook. Look at those low HP bars. Godsent find a pick, but this is like absolutely typical of their game so far. The pick, but they can do nothing with it.
Dragon is coming up, so they're trying to look to start something here. Oh, Legions.
Takes the air, they pull in. That's the wrong target, I feel, though. Flaxish gets taken very low, but Hoy's untouched, and this man will tear you apart.
He carries it down.
If he can. He dives in, the Severum doing the work. He'll pick up 2 kills for his issues, or for his troubles. And now Pedersen, Hoy's, and Legions should be able to secure this soul.
I mean, even though they got the jungler, just the damage that came back through was so devastating. And I mean, we saw yesterday a lantern get stolen. This is Thresh. You just take the grab there at that point. Unless you're communicating that you're both going to flash, just eat it. It's not that much of a deal. But the jungler goes down. But this damage that comes on the back end from the Karth Assault, from the Yone and the Aphelios just means even though Godsent are a man up, they're so far down in health, they're struggling. And they try and find a fight here. But this barrel combo, Flax is huge. And then Legions just assassinates Emtus on the back line. Basically just automatically wins that fight there. Guarantees them the dragon, and then immediately after this, Dusty heads straight towards that Baron and pick that one up. They have Soul, they have Baron, they have the scaling. Dusty have got this one in the bag, unless they make some humongous mistake.
Look, it's not out of the realms of possibility that Dusty make humongous late game mistakes, because we have seen that before. I'm thinking right back to that first game of the season versus Tricked, where genuinely Dusty could have won it, but there was some serious late game macro issues that unfortunately plagued them. But I think with a composition of this strength and the ability to affect the map on a global level, like they've got, it would have to be some of the biggest throws I've seen in League of Legends history for Dusty to eventually give this game away. They're looking very strong at this point in time, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely are, and I think it needs a miracle from Godsent, because we just saw they got a pick. They killed Chilm and took him out of the fight, and that wasn't enough. And things are only gotten worse from there. It's a 5k gold lead. The Soul's there, double lifesteal on the Yone. This is a hard team to crack right now, but if they're gonna find it, it needs to be some god plays coming up from Quick Timer.
Well, there's the first one that he's looking for, straight on to Legions, who's forced to use that stopwatch, immediately taken low. He will be forced out of the fight right now. It was a nice hook by... Oh, Hoyes, how did you pick that up? What a monster as the Requiem comes through. It might be enough to force them off this inhibitor turret as Legions has that double lifesteal. He'll be able to refresh his health relatively easily. And the inhibitor now the target for Dusty. Are they going to continue for the game here? They have the wave to work with. They have the Baron also. This is going to be a Hail Mary play from Godsent if they're looking for it. The Ornhorn comes through. Nice knockup. In goes Indecision as he looks for the first kill. The shutdown onto Hoyes as the backline is torn apart. But honestly, Godsent have got nothing left in the tank. Should have had a chem tank to back you up, I'm afraid. They're going to go straight for the Nexus turrets. And this should be an easy win now as they take that win over Godsent.
And Godsent find the hook, they find the grab, and it's just not enough at this point. They don't even kill Legions. They get sniped out on the back end of it. It's like Silk. They are trying to look for the kill, but I think they're just going to end on this one. I'm not going to bother diving him. Dusty coming out with a convincing and very necessary win to equalize Godsent, not only in score, but in that head-to-head. And I think Godsent, you came into this one with a huge priority on this Udyr, and you just didn't really do anything with it. We talked about how they needed to find advantages in the early game. They needed to shut down this Karthus, and they just didn't. They had the Lucian priority. It needed to be all gas, no brakes, and it kind of just felt like the tire fell off and they were left at the starting line. Dusty had complete control, and as the game went on, it just got more. It just started snowballing. They got more and more in their favor. Godsent needed a miracle at like 20 minutes, and it got to the point where even that wouldn't find them a way back in this game.
Yeah, it just felt like they let Dusty do what they want for too long in the early game, especially. And they had a small advantage of the Rift Herald, but they never made a play beyond that. And Dusty were allowed to scale basically infinitely into the late game, where they were severely outclassed the Godsent's comp in terms of that scaling capabilities. We're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, Hitbrain will be joined by his analysts to have an interview and break down some of those plays further. So we'll see you soon.
it's just starting. Never wanna be without it. Electricity gets me going. When I lie awake, waiting for a shot of adrenaline. Give you everything, are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Baby, we're electric, harder than a heat wave. Hold me like a secret, 'cause baby, we're electric. Baby, we're electric. Baby, we're electric. Hit me like a star out of orbit, crash into the sun. We're shining over all the lights below us. You're the only one that I'm wanting. When I lie awake, waiting for a shot of adrenaline. Give you everything, are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Baby, we're electric, harder than a heat wave. Hold me like a secret, 'cause baby, we're electric. Baby, we're electric. Baby, we're electric. We're electric. We're electric.
Must be dreaming, think I saw a ghost. Or was it an angel of the past that we all know? Ain't got the answers, but I hold the hope. So I'm holding on to the love, embracing the unknown. Now I'm dancing to the music. I'll just keep dancing till I lose it. Yeah, I got that Friday feeling. Yeah, it's all that I've been needing. Feel it, feel it. You're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good, good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good, good. If I'm dreaming, I don't wanna know. 'Cause this is
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the NLC. We're coming off the back of a Dusty win, and a very big one for them now. That means they're actually tied with Godsent, the team they just beat, and they are now equal in the head-to-head. So really, really big stuff there for Dusty. Yeah, good stuff. I
have fun,
don't do
Goldborg.
this normally, all right?
Goldborg, do you want to catch? Should I catch? You see
I mean, what am I catching? He was just like, yeah, so that's kind of good. And it's just not quite. Well, Jakey boy, let me explain to you how some of this happened, all right? So I think it's really good utilization of with the draft that actually came out. Some say it would have been a bit weird, but it had so much space to work with. There's so many slow tools. The Wall of Pain, the GP Ultimate, the Requiem after they were poked down, and it really well played around the Calibrum from the Aphelios as well. I just feel like every time that Dusty fought, it was so hard from the side of Godsent to actually get the right foot inside the door to take an approach onto that fight, because they're always so chunked down, and then they had to walk out, and then were slowed on the way out, and while they were trying to run away, they were just getting chunked down. Like, it was just a sad boy. Udyr, I looked on the riff, like, he was so slow.
And that's also kind of the issue with running the Blitzcrank, right? Because realistically, if they had another engaged support, then maybe they stood a bit more chance. But, you know, when you have that mid-game support, where you're basically just relying on wild random picks onto key members, it's not always going to be able to happen. And when they did actually hit hooks onto the key members like Kilmel or Hoyes, then they look, you know, for Godsent it looked a little more positive. But when they couldn't find those hooks, and then they just sort of ended up running into, you know, the GP barrels, the return damage, the wall of pain, cannon barrage, it was just so tough to actually navigate the team fights. And like we say, Udyr as well. No chem tank. Couldn't really run in too fast.
Sad Udyr hours, to be honest, there. But we do actually have the jungler for Dusty standing by. Chum, how are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing really good after this win.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that was quite an important win for you guys. 1-5 at the beginning of today. You're now tied with the team you just beat. You're tied with them on the head-to-head, and it's a bit of a long shot away, but you're still in with a chance of reaching playoffs. Is that kind of like a goal for you right now, or is it just keeping your head above the water? Where are you guys at right now?
I mean, the goal is for sure playoffs. Like, I don't know, we've been playing so bad, like the games. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I mean, I think we're getting a grip of it and starting to play better now. So hopefully we can make it to playoffs, even though we griefed the whole early split.
Yeah. Well, you guys are playing Granite tomorrow. Yeah, it's Granite tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that one? Because I think after that it's Nordvind and XL, so some slightly tougher challenges. So you're kind of slowly making your way up the staircase. How are you feeling about this matchup with Granite?
I mean, I think you have to ban Rice Victor against Sahira, or otherwise he will win the game for them. So, I mean, maybe we just ban this, and then they're not that good, I think.
That's all I hear. That's all I hear when I hear about Sahira. Just ban Rise and Victor. Finally, I just want to talk about this Karthus pick. Kind of a bit of a pick from left field there. What was kind of the thought process in the Karthus? I know it's a bit of a U specialty. Was that kind of the reason behind it, or do you think it actually was really suitable for that comp?
I mean, I think it's okay in the comp. I think I have like one. It's kind of okay, I guess. I mean, it works because I'm playing Karthus. I think if someone else plays Karthus, it won't work. So
best Karthus NLC.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Maxi has a shot, but otherwise there's no better. So.
I mean, I like the confidence, man. Honestly, good luck with your games coming up. I really hope we do get to speak to you again. I love these Cinderella stories. So congratulations on the win. We'll speak to you later, all right?
Thank you. See ya.
And while we're rolling on with the time, let's bring in Goldilocks, and you can start scribbling on everyone's screen. So now you got your crayons ready. So let's have a look at your favorite play from the.
You're making the production work for them transitions. That's for sure. But I like that we have to kind of set the context here. Like, it's a Drake setup that we're trying to bring in, and I want to kind of explain the theory behind waves, how you do stuff, and how it kind of works like a pendulum. So what you're seeing here first is that they're pushing in the minion wave. And what they want to do after pushing in that minion wave, as you can see it's moving forward, is that they want to go into the jungle of Drake here. They want to approach the breach, and they want to get some vision around it. They clear out this vision, and while this is happening, as I said, waves are pendulum. You will have it come crashing back into you. So they just have really good timings about how they utilize the waves, about how they go onto pressure, or around objectives. So now with the next wave coming in, and with that moving back, you know, that's the pendulum returning. And you know, that means like Godsent has to pick up this, and with this you have a tempo window. So you essentially have time to come in and walk around the Drake, and with that, now vision has come through, as you can see, on the side of Granite. On the side of Dusty. We have a ward here, you got the ward here, and this is where I kind of want to highlight the range composition that you also get out of Dusty. So they have to face check this, and they're not afraid to go onto their own and just waste everything on him, because you have so many tools to play with. And if you have a look at the playing field right now, it's so tough for the rest of them to come into this fight. Like, there is so much space between them onto this here, and as soon as this kind of comes into this point, if Requiem comes down, you may not get a lot of kills here, but you've won. you've gotten the objective that you need, you set up the Drake perfectly, and you set yourself on soul point. So everything about this play out from Dusty is just really nice, because sometimes we see them struggle with objectives, but this time they had the fundamentals down, they played around their compositions, and it was just great basic League of Legends.
Yeah. He's muted. Jake, you're muted.
Jake, you're muted.
I'm muted. I'm just saying, Jamada, did you see that? He used the actual arrow tools. He didn't freehand that stuff.
All right. Okay.
He's just scoring higher points right now. This is just
You're not allowed to mute yourself and come out and scold.
You can't mute and
Jamada,
come out and
all
try
right?
and flame. That's
just
Yeah.
All right. Take your silence. And I agree, Gulbok. Yeah. Honestly, that fight could have gone far worse for Godsent as well, given the compositions. I think there wasn't quite a ward when Legions hit a pretty big man knockup. I think it was 3 or 4 members, and there was no. I don't think there was vision for him to commit the ult. And if he'd done that, honestly, the rest of the tools laid down from Dusty would have just been enough to almost just outright ace Godsent. And it's just the way those two compositions work. For Dusty, having the river priority is so high value because it forces the likes of Godsent to have to walk into you, and that's exactly how you want the team fights to almost always play out.
Yeah, honestly, it was a really nice game from Dusty. They are definitely not out of hot water yet, though. They have a bit of work to do. And that mute was just me preparing for what's coming up. We're going to throw some adverts at your face now. See you in a second after this.